friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average babes come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A place where being yourself is the ultimate goal, where your opinion, your story, and your individual experience matters. Join me, your host B, and my guests for real and raw talks every week, laying it all out there so we can all help each other learn more, grow deeper, and evolve collectively. Now keep in mind, as a disclaimer, no one here is an expert and no one is giving any advice. This is strictly our opinions, thoughts, feelings, and for entertainment purposes only. Now with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy, and today you guys we're on episode 252, season 10 finale. I wish I had that. I know how to do that iPhone thing to make it do all the things. But I cannot believe it here. I'm super excited. So this episode, really quick episode, I'm just going to go over a little bit how much I appreciate you guys, what the last season felt like, some of my struggles, some of my losses, my wins of the season, what I'm looking forward to, what's coming up. And then we're going to go over the YouTube channel a little bit and the show as well. If you don't know what my library looks like, we're going to go over a little bit of the library. So if you just want to listen to the first part and then jump out because you've already listened to all the episodes, obviously, because you're number one fan, or you are just going to go explore for yourself, or you could care less, you'll come back another time. Totally get it. I like to make myself a little index at the end of every season so that if anybody wants to know what the last season was about, they can go to the finale episode and they can have a little bit of guidance on where to go. Or if you've been here and you just don't know where to go, it's a nice little place to go back and look over the season. So I'm going to be jumping onto that. But before I do, I just want to remind you, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or Rumble, to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave comments or review if you're feeling so kind. It helps me very much. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram or TikTok at the Be Real Babe or the Be Real Babe podcast. And finally, if you would like to be on season 11, feel free to email me at theberealbabe@hotmail.com. I would love to have you on the show. Now, let's get to the number one most important business. I am fucking done. I am not done this show, but I am so done podcasting right now. I'm going to be taking an extra long break. As much as I absolutely love this hobby, and the reason why I want to take a break has nothing to do with any individual, any story, any commenter, anything. It honestly has to do with the mass amount of work that needs to be done, as well as this fucking platform. Excuse my French, but Riverside I love it. It's one of the best platforms I believe out there for podcasting. However, it seems the last year that they have tried to implement a lot of AI functionality within the system, it seems to crash the regular functionality of it. And I'm getting super frustrated because outside of the transcripts, I don't really do much with the AI functionality. So I almost wish you could turn that part off so you could just have the old platform. And then those that want to progress with that, they can. All the power to you. I'm nerdy. I like to learn how to do stuff with my own hands, with my own eyes. So besides transcripting, because no one has the fucking time. But for the rest of it, I'm good. So I have had nothing but struggles, you guys, this year. I'm sure as you've been watching, you have seen it, technologically speaking. For example, this episode itself, if you would believe it, it is 6 a.m. on a Saturday because I tried to record my finale last night. I had everything good and somehow my microphone didn't work. So I don't even know if my microphone is working this time. I'm praying to God that it works. I have my little backup here if you're on video. I have my old iPhone here that is recording my audio just in the chance that this one doesn't work. So if the audio is jacked in this, I'm so sorry. Like I said, don't know what's going on. If you've been watching all season, I'm sure you've probably seen it kick to different angles, and bless your heart, my girlfriend and last guest, Adriana, thought that I was just being creative. No, unfortunately, just to give you guys an idea of how my setup is, I have my Mac here that is kind of like the producer of the show. It's the main one, but I don't love, as you can see, when it cuts to that angle, and maybe I'll leave a cut in here if I remember, if I have time, because I got to get off this program before it charges me again. It's not a nice angle, as you can see, right? Like, especially if I'm looking up here, it's not a cute angle. So I have my iPhone flipped around and I have it with a good camera. And so that's my backup camera. Now what's been happening is I don't know why I'm looking down here again. That's been happening with the connectivity is that it keeps booting my second camera out. Now when that happens, it kicks me out of the studio. could be anywhere from 10 seconds to 2 minutes. So that's why you'll see it cut to this one here, because my other phone, where I can't stop in the middle of interviewing someone to fix it, so you'll see my eyes kind of like dart. It's because I also, if you can see, have this, if you can see it here, it's a screen. It's called a symbol, and basically it's mirroring this my iPhone, so I can see, because quite often it's been kicking out lately, and it's just nice to see. I used to do the selfie camera so that I could see that the program was running properly. And then of course Instagram heard my need for a solution, and then shared this, which it works pretty well for the most part. Sometimes it kicks me out, but I do wonder if that's the reason why. Is it because I'm using a mag stripe to hold my iPhone? I don't know, you guys, but I have had nothing but struggles. And although I'm super appreciative for this platform, as it does help my flow very much, it also is frustrating, because I'm the type of girly that downloads the raw content and I move over to a program called DaVinci and I edit in there, just because I have a lot more. I'm personally a person that likes real computer-based programs and apps. I don't love online apps for a lot of reasons, just because you miss out on a lot of short keys. The internet's so volatile sometimes, and it just depends sometimes on your internet speed. So I prefer to edit things in real time in the raw program. So I don't really use Riverside too much. With the YouTube channel, I use it a lot more to go through the transcripts, to edit the program, because those are just half an hour, so those ones can be really quick. But the long form content, especially because everyone shows up with different formats, some people are doing their cameras this way, that way, so my biggest struggle this season was definitely Riverside and the technology. I'm not a tech girly, you guys know that if you've been around here, but I do try my best. So hopefully it's apparent that I am trying my hardest. I'm trying to find all different ways. I got more lights, I got the whole egg chair, I got the screen, I've got all the things I hope I'm doing. But that being said, if you haven't heard, or if this is repeat, but I am going to be taking a 2-month break. I am absolutely exhausted, going over 10 full seasons, 5 years, not missing one day from an upload that I can imagine, at least not missing a week upload. Then this whole entire year branching out to 3 different episodes kind of blows my mind. I'm kind of hesitating, because I'm like, oh, I've already said these things, but it's because I recorded this last night, you guys. I don't know if I've said that already, but I recorded this last night. The audio didn't work, so I feel like, oh my God, I already said that. It's like, well, yeah, you did, because you recorded this episode already, and this is the second time. But yeah, so reiterating that this last year, there has been 1 episode with either a guest or a handful of solo episodes, but the most guests I've had this year in my entire, I would say, podcasting career, because before, when I had hosts, we had a lot of just co-host episodes where we just talk ourselves. It was like half guests, and then I did a bunch of guests. And now it just feels like, because I've kicked the Keeping Up with Canada and Internet Insanity off into the YouTube channel, I have had so many more interviews this year, which is so amazing. However, it adds a whole other layer of work to my whole workflow, having guests on versus just doing solo episodes and researching, right? And I do want to go through with the flow, just for people that are curious on the background of what it looks like, and like, what are you talking about? What do you mean all this work? But going through and then doing 2 episodes on YouTube a week, even though they're just half an hour, those still take a couple hours to record, research for, edit, get the content for, post it, and then, all those kind of things go every single week, trying to keep up, and also trying to ensure that what I'm looking at and researching is at least like corroborated with a couple other stories. So because there's so much bullshit online, it's a very hard thing these days when you're researching, is like algorithms, echo chambers, censorship, paid ads, there's a lot. So it does take some time there. So yeah, that has been my biggest struggle, and thank you guys for sticking around always. Again, like I said, I really thought I was getting better, but it seems like I don't know if I'm getting worse, or maybe I just don't have an understanding of the new upgrades of the program itself. So that being said, taking that 2-month break, I'm going to spend 2 weeks not recording anything, not sitting in here, not even thinking about the show or the podcast, and just take a complete break for 2 weeks. And then after that, 2 weeks, I'm going to start revamping this podcast in the YouTube studio, because again, you always learn to improve things, right, when you can stop and take a break. So one thing for myself personally, this is also my office. So at the current time where you guys are seeing me, if you're seeing me, I have my YouTube my YouTube area with my egg chair, and it's got my sign. And then on the other side of my the room, I have the YouTube quote unquote studio, where it's a little bit different, quote unquote, a little bit more casual. And then the other corner, I have my office with my standing desk. So very excited to find a way to utilize the office with my desk, because I do have like a L-shaped desk, kind of like a V-shaped desk, if you will. So I can use many sides of it. So looking forward to making the setup a little bit easier, because every time I do something, I have to take all my equipment and flip it over to the other side of the room. So I want to take some time to improve my studio, improve my flow of the studio, improve the actual recordings of it, doing some courses on what works best, doing some courses on DaVinci to learn a little bit more. I always say I'm going to do it, but within that 1 month, especially if I'm not ahead, if I'm not recording a couple weeks in editing ahead and I'm just kind of going hand to mouth like I've got myself since Christmas, where I'm recording literally the week before it has to go up, I'm now only have a month's break. Within that month's break, I want to be able to get ahead of the season, right? So then I'll start recording almost like a week after I stop, because I want to get some content ahead, because I know throughout that 5 months, there's going to be a vacation or work or life or whatever that's going to come up. Especially this coming year, there's a lot of exciting things coming up in my life. So it's going to pull me away. So giving this extra month off will give me time not only to break, to reset, to educate myself a little bit more, and to really self-evaluate like what I'm doing here. I'm terrible at listening to all the people online that say not everyone should have a podcast. What are you doing? And some episodes don't get as many plays and some do. And so, obviously struggling with imposter syndrome all the time. So really getting some clarity and understanding of what I want to do going forward. I imagine the same thing, you guys. I imagine that I'm going to be doing the interviews on the podcast long form as per usual, getting to know people a little bit more, and really getting out there and asking people that make me a little bit nervous to ask as well, to come on the show. So very much looking forward to that. So I don't imagine that's going to change, but just learning how to be a better interviewer, a better podcaster, a better, make sure I'm asking the right questions, research people a little bit better. Like, what's the best way to go about that? Also, even just what I'm providing them, which I'm going to go over my flow here shortly. And then with the YouTube channel, same thing. On the YouTube channel, if you haven't listened to the whole any season 7 to 10, season 10 is going to be going up as I'm taking this break on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't watched all of them and you prefer YouTube as a platform, you can go over there and listen to it over there, of course. And then if you want to listen to past seasons, there's over there as well. And then a year worth of Be Real Babe show, which has Internet Insanities on Wednesdays and Keeping Up with Canada's on Mondays. So there's over, a year's worth of weekly content over there for Canadian topics and news, as well as random internet shit that I have found on the internet. So lots and lots and lots of content out for you guys while I take this 2-month break. It feels really counterproductive because I feel so blessed. I just hit 20,000 on Spotify and Apple, 10,000 on Rumble, and 40,000 on YouTube. So it does feel at this momentum that it feels weird to pull back, but I need a break, you guys. I'm sure you can see it on my face if you're watching. I am just completely fucking wrecked. For those that don't know, if you haven't listened to the last episode, I work in corporate cannabis. I'm kind of a department on my own. I move weed across the country all day. It's a heavy regulated industry. It's a brand new industry. Things are changing all the time. So it is absolutely my dream job. I love it so much, but it is very taxing. It's a very mind bending job because there's so many new things, nuances, no book to go and look and see how you run the cannabis industry. And then I'm working in Excel and then the computer all day. And then I come home, and for the last week I've been recording every single day because my subscription to Riverside renews tomorrow and I don't want to pay for $40 for the month that I'm not going to be using it. So your girl is racing today, recording today. I'm about to go do a cardio class and I'm going to come back and edit it, get my reels, and bow out of Riverside for 2 fucking months and save myself money. But yeah, so expect to come back in April. I think it's going to be April 6th that the podcast will come back, and then shortly thereafter the episode. Shortly after that, the YouTube show will be back on as well the following week on Mondays and Wednesdays. Like I said, I'm going to continue talking about Canada. I was going to stop, but I decided I'm going to, but I'm going to come at it a different way. I really want to jump into the comment sections and do a little bit more research on each topic that I'm talking about and get Canadians full scope of how they feel on a certain topic and just kind of do 2 a week. I think I really want to try and bridge the gap of this very big political divide, which is, we've got a whole mainstream media and government again doing that. But I think as Canadians, we can definitely work and lead the way in how do we come together and where do we have things in common and where are we different on and where are the extremes so that we can look at all of it together and try to come together, because that's the only way this is going to work. Not one side is going to be able to fix everything because the other side is always going to be mad. You know what I'm saying? So let's work together. And I'm very, very excited for this year. One huge goal for me for 2026 is to get more involved in local politics and within the city, to, instead of just talking about it, actually get involved. And that would be a great avenue for me to talk to citizens right here in Kelowna in BC and see how they're actually feeling. So very much looking forward to that and expanding on that in the new seasons, but very much looking forward to the break. As I'm doing this break, you guys, I also have another project that I've been trying to do for years, but because I've been so busy and wrapped up in the podcast and the show, I have not had the time. And it is something that you are going to be having. This is something you're going to be able to have in your home. I'm super, super excited. Some of you probably already know what it is. Some of you maybe don't whatsoever. But if you are curious, I would go follow the Be Real Collective on Instagram. We are a group of girlies over there that are trying to help each other out. And there is a lot to come in 2026. We kind of got started and got together in 2025, got some ideas, and now we're building upon it. And we want to bring a bunch of you with us along to just inspire and motivate and be collected together and help each other out. So very much looking forward to that, but I need some time away from this show. As you guys know, it's so much work. But yeah, so the reason why it's so much work, and maybe people don't understand, like just to kind of like, so going into a new season, I'll kind of explain how I go into a new season and how I set up the 5 months that I do record and why that is so much work. I would estimate that I work anywhere from, I would say 10 to 14 hours a week on podcasting, content creating in the YouTube channel. And that's not just because I'm recording, right? Let's say that I record 2 half-an-hour shows a week, and let's just say at the max 2 hours of a YouTube episode, right? So that's 3 hours that I'm actually recording. Well, that's 3 hours of editing that I need to listen to. And although I listen to it on 2 times speed, at the same time, you still have to stop, make some edits, go back, listen to it. So estimate about the same amount of time. So we've got about 3 hours recording, 3 hours of probably editing, getting it all done, uploading, all that kind of stuff within just the editing itself. If I got to add my intro, my outro, if the Riverside kicked out and I have to do some editing, if a guest has requested something to come out, there's a lot that has to be done that. So that's about 6 hours right there a week for just that part of it. Then you've got the content creating, right? So I'm going to make some reels. I'm going to make artwork for every single episode. Then I've got to upload all of those and come up with captions for that, right? So every week I'm doing 2 episodes on YouTube. So that's 2 episodes, 2 reels for that, and then 3 reels per podcast. So every week I'm doing 5 different reels with captions, editing captions, like the closed captions so people can read, and then the captions and the words itself for the actual post, right? So that's 5 a week. That probably takes an hour to 2 hours, depending on my mental capacity and how smart and stupid I am that day. I have improved my flow, but during this break, how can I improve it better? Getting rid of closed captions. Number 1, never doing that again. Every single app that people listen on have the option to turn the closed captions on if you want to read it. So please be my guest and turn those on going forward, because I'm so done with editing the transcripts and that kind of stuff. It's exhausting. So that part is a lot of work. So now we're at probably, so what we said, 6, 5, there's 11 hours right there. Then at the same time, I've got to research the topics I talk about. I've got to find my guests. I've got to research my guests. I got to get them set up, sending them emails and appointments, and teaching them how to do Riverside and working through that with them. And, people reschedule. They have lives. So balancing the continual schedule of like, no one's getting paid for this. So it's very fair to be the first thing. Totally understandable. I'm not shaded. To be kicked out of your schedule, right? And then that causes me to have to scramble to find somebody else if I'm not ahead of it, right? Which then that's where you'll see a solo episode pop up usually, and I save it for that, or a series. I'll put in a new series into that so that I have those moments when someone reschedules. I don't have to flail, right? So there's the customer, the client, or I guess I would say guest management, and teaching them how, researching them, giving them questions, and getting them prepared to be on the show. Once they're on them, also supporting them after the show of listening to it, guiding them through, making sure I've got the thumbs up. For those know, maybe don't know, no episode gets posted without the guest thumbs up, and they listen to it first, or they don't listen, but it does not get posted without their blessing ever. I've never done that, and I never will. So all of that, right? And on top of it, I've got a job, a home. I'm not a mom. Thank goodness. I don't think I can do this. I would not be able to do this. And if moms are doing this much, you're insane. But I do have the cats, and I do have my outside ambitions on top of my career, and, always trying to keep healthy and mentally sound and spiritually, clued in. So at the end of the day, guys, it's like 12 to 14 hours that I'm doing a week between the podcast and the show, on top of working 40 to 50 hours a week for my job. I also teach cardio classes on Sunday. So prep for that every week is about, 1 to 2 hours. It's in my home, so I got to make sure my house is clean. So your girl is strung the fuck out, and you can see why, right? I love all of these things. These are all amazing energetic energy avenues for me, energetic energy avenues. This is what I'm saying. I'm starting to short circuit quite a bit now. Not my normal short circuit, like a lot, and you guys don't see it as much because I edit it out. I don't edit a lot out, but some of them I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Especially when I'm by myself. But anyways, we're short circuiting. We need some time. I need to find a way to do my flow better. I need to be intentional with what I'm doing a little bit more. At first, it was just like get a bunch of content out, just go. And now it's like, okay, let's refine that. And that's where I'm at. But amazing seasons, you guys. My guests have been absolutely incredible. I feel absolutely so blessed for everything that I've gone through this year and all the guests and all the hurdles. This is all teaching me how to be better at stuff and how, to fight all of my inner demons and work on all the areas that I am weak in. So very appreciative of that. So I just also, if you guys have been listening this far to this, if you're new, if you've been around for 5 years, does not matter to me. Every single listen, every single like, every single support, I appreciate so much. When you guys comment on my Spotify, I get that notification. It helps boost me in the algorithm. When you guys like me, it helps take me out of the massive shadow bands I've been in since COVID, since speaking out against that. I've never really been able to break out of that, but I've hit, like I said, my huge milestones, and moving the podcast and the YouTube separately has also done a huge service for my reach, because YouTube seems to suppress a lot of the personal stories that are coming out about their like medical experience for the most part, where they don't mind if I talk shit about the government or talk about YouTube stuff and YouTube drama. They love that shit. And it's short form. Not everyone likes long form, right? So that's why I do a little bit of both. So yeah, very much excited to look at that. But what was some of the, so again, appreciate you guys. That's what I want to say. If you don't want to listen to the library of what happened this last season, I totally understand. Peace out now. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything. I just don't even know how this is real. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a journalist, or I wanted to be a school secretary. And so I kind of, I guess, went for more the school secretary office route with my jobs. But to be able to do this on the other side and be open to massive opportunities and having all these guests and learning more about them has just been absolutely beautiful. And the fact that you guys are coming along with me is so cool. I have no idea who the fuck you are, but I love you and I appreciate you so much. And please keep listening. Please, in the break, go back, go look at some old stuff. If you have no idea and my library is insane, dude, yeah, welcome to my brain. But just shoot me a message on Instagram or TikTok, or email me and be like, hey, I like this topic. What do you have on this topic? Or I'm struggling with this. What do you have on that? And guarantee I will find something for you. But let's go through season 10 and the YouTube channel as well for the last season, just to give you some ideas of some of the topics that are over there. But again, if you want to bow out now, thank you so much. Love you. I appreciate you. Please listen on my break. Please message me on Instagram or social media. Let me know how you're feeling, how you like this. And please come back for April 6th. I'm so excited to start the new season and have you with me. But anyways, guys, let's get into it. So episode 232 was my season 10 opener. Like it feels weird to me, and I don't know how other people, content creators, but with this season, it just feels weird not having bookends to kind of open up the season, be like, this is what I was doing on the break. This is what I learned. This is what I love. This is what I hate. And this is what's coming up for the next season. And at the end being like, this was amazing. Here's my struggles. Here's my wins. Overall success as per usual. I'm taking a break, and this is what the last season looked like, so that you can go back. And like I said, if you're new here or you're just curious, always going to the season finales, I will run you through what the season looked like and guide you to those episodes. So like I said, they're kind of like a discography of what happened in this last year, so you can go back and listen to episodes that maybe you missed, or if you're new, going back. So that's what season episode 232 is just, I made it 4.5 years. Very excited. Made it to season 10. That's what I promised myself I was going to do, and I did it. A huge milestone was 20,000. We've hit it across all platforms. I'm looking at about 70,000. So of course I'm coming for that 100K next season. So please make sure to help me with that. And then in episode 233, we have our amazing Torva back on. We talk about mindset, manifesting, resilience, and woo-woo shit with her. Because if you've been around, you know her story. You know how she's been completely fucked by Canadian healthcare. She was left to die. She is now a medical exile down in the States. And this is when she first, at the beginning of the season, obviously it was only a couple months apart, but this is when she kind of like first was establishing herself in Texas and getting used to having proper medical care for her cancer and for her needs, and just working through that and getting her and her husband settled. And we talked about her life before cancer. You know, obviously we've talked a majority about her cancer diagnosis and her fight with that. But who was Torva before then, and what did she do? And she was actually someone that helped other people with their mindsets and going forward and being a coach and helping them in their business and their life, whatever it is that they needed. And so taking some of that stuff into her own life and practicing it differently than when she was a coach and doing all those things was, a very interesting contrast for her. Like, in those moments, actually going through and being like, oh shit, thank God I have these tools, because if I didn't, it'd be 10 times worse. But holy shit, this is insane. Right. And just, and what that shift was like for her. And by no means am I saying she didn't go struggles before that, but obviously her cancer chapter is wild and very difficult and was very, very, very scary for her. So, going back to having those tools, it's crazy how the world kind of brings you to have those things, right? So that was the first one. And Torva was in Texas, and then you'll see her again later in this season. And she is, it's a secret, but you'll have to see if you haven't already. Episode 234, I have Miss Rini on. She is amazing woman that came on, and we were talking about breast implant illness and her explant and her whole process of how she kind of got pushed into a mommy makeover and how that completely tore her up for a very long time, because not only did she have complications, a bunch of other stuff happened. She had to have a mastectomy. Things just went from wanting to just have a little bit of a glow up to having to completely restructure parts of her body and restructure her whole entire mind and her relationship with her body, and why I do talk about breast implant illness and the dangers with implants so much. I started that in season 2, actually. And now I haven't had someone on for a little while, and it was really amazing to have Rini on to share her experience, because I think women need to know about this. And it's not because I'm trying to fearmonger or anything like people say I'm jealous, I'm fearmongering. No, I think you need to have informed consent, because if you ask any one of these women if they had informed consent, they'll say no. And they will always say, if I knew that this was going to be a possibility, there is a more likely chance that I wouldn't have. Not hindsight is 2020, but there's a good chance that I would not have, or at least be informed to get help when I need. So that was episode 234. Episode 235, I bring my girl Jamie back on. It is about being real from going left to right politically. She was very much a liberal for most of her life, and the pandemic, kind of what she went through, she's now on the other side. People always say there's a pipeline, and I'm sorry, sometimes there is a pipeline from left to right, because sometimes we progress, and we progress a little too hard for some individuals, and that's kind of where it was for me, and why I kind of took more of a conservative stance, even though I'm trying to be more balanced this year and not identify with necessarily a left-right conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, because we are not our political identities. However, politics very much now affects our lives, and I know before it didn't feel like it did. And my point is because all the laws and the regulations and how much they've put themselves in our homes, why that feels that way. So therefore, that's why it became much more intense politically when you vote politically, because unfortunately some policies do affect either side. So it does feel personal, right? So there needs to be conversations of that entirely. But this was a really fun conversation with Jamie about what she experienced, because if you remember, she was on the show talking about her injury before that she got when we got locked down, and mandated to do that. She went and did it, and she's been sick ever since. So coming back on to, that's a big start of how she went politically from left to right. So that's episode 235. Now, episode 236, if you've been around here, you will know Miss Holly G. I've had her on since the beginning, one of my longest standing friends. We are December babies. We are absolutely spiritually connected, and we're best friends in another life for sure. We've been through ups and downs together, and you have seen her entire life on this podcast for many different reasons. And in this episode, we're talking about mental health and medications, because she's had much more experience. I've only had a small window of experience with medications with mental health. It wasn't good for me. I hated it. I left. But we just talk about the interactions of that and interactions of other medications, and how, a lot of people just, again, aren't being informed on some of the things that can be done for mental health as an alternative to medications, and just some of the dangers. At the same time, that is up to you and your doctor. You go get your informed consent. I'm not telling what you do either way. I just think you should be informed on some people's experiences, again, so you know for yourself. So it's not so scary when you don't know what the fuck is going on. Okay, so now next episode 237, being real about Botox injury number 6. Now, if you guys have been around, you know that I did a Botox injury series started last season, and I did 5 episodes. 5 different girlies came on and talked about their Botox injuries, their experience with Botox, and their healing journeys, and that ranged from extreme and still extreme to better to decently almost extreme to better to, it is all over the place. Healing for Botox injury is not linear, but I would say episode 6 was one of the most intense ones, because Victoria, she's over in the UK. No one knew about the antitoxin. No one knew what happened. She got it administered hours later after she was really starting to suffer from this. However, she had to take 3 months to eat through a feeding tube, because she had to retrain her body how to eat and talk again due to botulism. So, when people say that it doesn't happen and it's rare, okay, But I challenge that I've talked to 6 women on my show in the last 6 months that have all had crazy experiences and have completely uprooted their lives. And even if some of them are somewhat back to the life that they had, it's not the same. Their bodies do not act the same. Their reflexes are not the same. Their nervous system is not the same. Their guts are not the same. Their trust is not the same. Their mental health is not the same. So I don't know that Botox doesn't necessarily come with potential risks, and I just want y'all informed. I don't give a shit what you do. That is your choice. I love everybody. All these women chose to get Botox. I love them as well. I am not going to shame you ever if you were like, yeah, you're a fucking liar, and then you came around and you're like, oh my God, no, you were right. And that's okay. That's fine. I don't claim to be right, and I'm not claiming everybody gets through it. Or sorry, everyone gets this. But people do get it. And y'all commenters fucking hating on me in the comment section saying it doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I think you're experiencing something called cognitive dissonance. And that means that you have something so rooted in your head that you believe in that you will not take in anything else and opposing views. I would urge you to go look at the science. And although that's, again, to some people, it feels like it's subjective. And worst case and best case, go to all of these stories and tell me and tell these women they didn't experience it. Please. I know you like to do it in the comment section, but tell them to their faces, please, and watch all of their stories before you do so. And just understand that your experience is not everyone's. Just how we understand those that are injured is not everyone's experience. We just want you to be informed because there's a lot of gaslighting that happens here. Next episode 238, Being Real with Girl Go Robin. Now, I'm so excited, you guys. If you've been around, you have seen Robin 3 times on this season. It's like when I fall in love with someone, I fall in love and I fall hard. And Robin was one of those. And she became known as Girl Go Robin from doing a blog and teaching women how to grill and not be afraid, and doing a cookbook and being all into that industry and so consumed with that she actually didn't want to talk about that. And I actually met her talking about Botox. So it's really interesting that her episode's the one right after. But she was speaking out about Botox and how bad it is for you and how she had quit doing it. And it was just how she's now on a journey to heal herself. So I brought her on and we talked about soul fracturing and how that at her height of, fame and notoriety, and when she's going, being that boss babe, having a baby, and just completely shattered her soul, and how she's put the pieces back together, but her journey into coming back to herself and healing all of that, which obviously then kicked her body into overdrive. And now she's on the journey writing her second cookbook and really focusing on gut health and helping everybody learn a little bit more about that. So this amazing episode was definitely about healing the soul, healing internally, mentally, the pressures that we put on each other, what it's like to perform, content create, what's your value and your output and all that. So beautiful 2-hour conversation with my girl Robin. And then we jump over to an episode 239, Being Real, about bodybuilding with Lexa. Now, Lexa was a bodybuilder as well as a coach. And what was beautiful about this episode is watching her go from learning and like doing it and actually going through stuff, going through competitions, being a bodybuilder herself, and all the education she's had, and the flip side of what that was like going in and experiencing that in real life, from school to real life situations, and becoming a coach, and how there's differences and there was a lot of eye-opening, and how there's value in obviously everything, but how a holistic approach of experience and education really help you dial in to be the coach that you need, as well if you have personal experience yourself. Trifecta, right? So it was just a really beautiful conversation about the wins and losses of the industry itself, of bodybuilding, of coaching, all of that, and just the things that maybe people don't know what those experience in bodybuilding and coaching of bodybuilders as well. So episode 239. Now, 240 is probably a little aged right now. It's all about Halloween. Me and my babe Hales, my OG Coast Hales, we talk about Halloween. We go to Reddit stories. We go to crazy, scary, spooky stories. We go real ones, fake ones, all of that. It's all Halloween episodes. So if you're feeling spooky and you want to go back to that, 240 is your episode. Episode 241 is about being real about drugs with my girl Darian. Now, when we grew up, her drug of choice was alcohol, and my drug of choice was weed and alcohol, and then some other fun disco biscuit things for a while there, but mainly pharmaceuticals. And so we have a conversation about doing recreational drugs and how we've kind of overcome our stupid past and some of the shit that we did as teenagers and young adults that we're shocked that we ever did, and then coming out and what that healing looks like, and how we party now as grandmothers. And we do definitely drink, and I will say I have a disco biscuit from time or two, but I definitely not going hard like I used to, and I have not taken pharmaceuticals and I would say like 5-6 years now for sure, if not longer. I think I maybe take a handful of Advils this year. However, still a proud stoner. So very good conversation with me and Dee about doing drugs and coming up from that, not endorsing them whatsoever. Then, as I mentioned, I get to actually meet my girl Torva in real life. She came up to Kelowna and she did an event from Canada about fleeing Canada as she's in medical exile, like I said, because the Canadian healthcare system cannot support keeping her alive with the cancer that she is fighting, has her whole entire journey. The journey never ends. Unfortunately for those with cancer, not always, So with this one, she came up to Kelowna, she did an event, and then when she was back in Texas, I interviewed her and we talked about that and just how it was like to come back to Canada and just how she's been the last little bit and how it was like to do the event and listening to other people's stories and all of that stuff. So another beautiful conversation. If you haven't heard Torva's story, she goes through it in the event from front to end, her whole entire experience here in Canada having cancer, stage 4 ovarian cancer. Then in episode 243, we bring our girl Robin back, and this time she's helping us talk about gut health and healing with parasite cleansing. Now, parasite cleansing is something that I've always been interested in. However, I also think there's a lot of shysters and snake oil salesmen online, and I don't trust everybody. So I like to trust people that do the research and do stuff for themselves and don't make money. No offense. I'm not saying those that sell it are not trustworthy, but I just like to hear my information from those that are just living and breathing it and what they've done. And this episode is that. So Robin takes us through her whole entire experience and about not just parasite cleansing, like gut health in its entirety with the focus on parasite cleansing. So that's episode 243. Now, next episode 244, Being Real with Be Easy. Now, Be Easy is an amazing woman that has followed the show. She's a supporter. Absolutely adore this woman. She is a shining light. Kat she still is a yoga instructor that has now had her focus on face yoga, and she offers workshops and she offers one-on-one coaching to help those to kind of just learn a little bit more about the face, right? We do yoga in our body, we stretch them out, we take care of that, but our face, and if you're like me, like a Disney character where you express a lot, obviously those lines and all those motions are going to be predominant as we age, and certain things like double chin and posture and all of that and looking at your phone, all that stuff comes into play. So what Kat does is comes in as an alternative to things like Botox and like that to help you not only embrace and love your face because that is your story, but at the same time, why not try and make it function the best it can? If you're frowning all the time, there's obviously some emotion that's in there that is continually happening. So let's visit that, right? And let's see also at the same time with doing face yoga, what can we do for that? So Kat really has an all-around way of trying to support those facial muscles, those expressions, and then internally, that's obviously going to help because your face is going to reflect some sort of feeling and emotion, which is going to make you feel something on the inside, right? So beautiful conversation with her, as well as me and her growing up as millennials and what it was like where she lives in a place where there's a lot more plastic surgery and a lot more push beauty standards and anti-aging messaging growing up. So went through that with her to understand her experience as well with that. So that was a lot of fun. And then right after we jump into 245 where I go through my Hawaii vacation. So those that do know and not know, and the reason why I'm actually behind on this season is that I went to Hawaii with my spouse. We haven't left the country since 2017. We went to Vegas, and because of the pandemic and all of that, we just haven't left. So we finally took a trip and we went down to Hawaii, Honolulu. It is absolutely the most magical place on earth. I love it down there so much. So I just go through our experience down there, the things that we did, the things that we loved. There's not much that we didn't love, but things that we would do differently if and when we go back, actually. And so that was just a really fun episode, and also to help me just kind of catch up from coming back from my trip. It was just a fun solo episode about Hawaii. And then episode 246, I bring on a guy named Riley. Now, Riley is from Alberta, and he started something actually now, not at the time, but it started now, the Men's Mind Collective. And now what Riley is doing is he is building a platform for men to come together to help motivate, inspire each other, get help, give help, all those kind of things, starting with forums and conversations and weekly discords of where men can help each other, where they need help, give some advice, where they're struggling, motivate each other with people that are in the same mentality, right? Not that going out and partying and doing that, like people that want to be in business or advance themselves or follow a passion or try something new or get out of their current job situation, having guys around to help you do that. We know that we're doing that with the Be Real Collective, same kind of idea that we're doing with the Girls Collective, Riley's doing with the men, right? Which I think is so amazing. Help people connect, help people go to the gym together, all those kind of stuff. Like brotherhood and sisterhood are so fucking important. And the pandemic has completely wrecked that. And so why not find a place online. So Riley decided to go and look for that place, and there wasn't a place to meet people like that. So he's created it himself. So definitely go check out the Men's Mind Collective. If you're a man, obviously girlies were not invited, but if your man is struggling with any of those things, finding men, finding some support, that's maybe not in a certain niche, like maybe not just gamers, gamers have gamers, car people have car people, where they can all go together for motivation, for help, right? Social media is not that place, especially for men. You guys get hated on so much. So very appreciate what Riley's doing. But I think it's a good episode for both men and women to listen to, because there's a lot of nuggets that us women can take from that. And then I also gave some advice as well for women supporting men, and how men need to take that too. So I think it was a very beautiful conversation between the two of us. And then we go into episode 247, also another season episode with my babe Hales, talking about Reddit Christmas and a bunch of crazy stories that we read online about Christmas. So I know it's definitely not the time we're over Christmas, but if you do want to go back and feel nostalgic, there's usually always Halloween and Christmas episodes. So at those times, definitely go search and you will find those episodes. And then again, it was holiday season. If you guys been around, you know how hard it is to get people at the Christmas season. Everyone's doing their own shit, so it's hard to book episodes and guests through the holiday season. Even for myself, it's so busy. So coming up with some solo episodes to end the season. So we got 248, being real about 2025. Now I go through all of 2025, both seasons, my life, the world, what the fuck happened in 2025 in its entirety. So if you are looking for a go back episode, that is a good one. Now starting to slowly end up the season, we've got episode 249, being real about conspiracy theories. I have my babe Robin back on for the third time this season, and we just talk about conspiracies in its entirety. Now, when you see that, people are gonna be like, oh my god, she's a conspiracy theorist. Y'all have labeled me that for just asking fucking questions and trying to be critical about the narratives that I've been given. Now, have I gone down some places where it's absolutely insane? Yes, because you guys watch fiction, like you guys read fiction. So my question is, what's very different of reading stories like this that are conspiracies that have the potential to be real? I don't live and breathe by these things, but I like to read them. So we definitely go through that, and different ones that we've talked about, and our rabbit hole experiences, and how we went to the darkest place and now we're back, and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's a very fun 2-hour episode, as per usual, with me and Robin talking about everything under the sun. But just to start, and this is also a series that is going to continue, because I actually do want to dive into things that are called conspiracies, and what can we know as fact, and what is like, you know what I mean? And then see where sometimes there's usually a truth to some of it, right? So that series there, 249, that series is starting. So that's part 1. And then ironically, right after, I started another series, because this is a solo episode. But as you guys may know, may not know, I have a childhood friend that has been missing for several years now, Amber Manthorn, out of Port Alberni. So I've talked about her on the show, and I've talked about missing people before, but I thought I'm going to start a series that is province to province. So being episode 250 is being real about missing people, BC edition. So I'm going to start in my home province where I am, and work my way throughout the season, and drop every province open cases, as well as particular missing situations or struggles or adversities that specific province faces due to where they are, politics, all that kind of stuff. So I started with BC. I started with Amber Manthorn, Ryan Shutka, who went missing in Sun Peaks in February 2017, 18. I'm so sorry. There's just so much information. But definitely 7-8 years ago. I want to say it was 8 years ago this February. So that's coming up. And then Cole Holsack, who went missing New Year's Eve 2023 in Dawson Creek. There's a whole thing on Fifth Estate about Dawson Creek. This is actually what started the series, is because I found a reel of Cole's mom speaking about the anniversary and how she's so heartbroken, and it just made me feel. Then I tripped into Amber, and then obviously stuff is coming up about Ryan lately because his anniversary is coming up. So it just made sense to start a series doing this. So continue to keep your eyes out for those series to come in the following seasons. And then the last episode before this is 251, bringing on my girl Adriana. We talk about corporate life, because I'm sick and tired of you MLMers hating on corporate girlies. I'm sorry, I'm done with it. I'm so fucking over it. I'm so fucking over. I maybe it's just because I don't make reels just being like, corporate life's great, and that must suck, not ever knowing how much you're going to make and have to literally rely on everybody for how much your paycheck is, when I know every single week, no matter what I do, if I have a crazy week or a chill week, I still know exactly what I'm making, and I know what my increases are, and I have signed up for it. I have informed consent. I also have benefits, PTO, all those kind of things, stability, a family, and I'm not hating on you. I'm just saying, please, those are the things that I love and need, and that's what corporate gives me. What is provided with entrepreneurship is not what I need right now personally. An MLM structure or online stuff, and I'm not hating on you. I'm just saying that's not what I need, but I don't go on social media and post that to get people to come over to the corporate side. We're always recruiting. We always need people to work for our company, but I don't need to do that. to be able to get people to come to the comedy. You know what I mean? So I just would kindly ask that you stop fucking doing that. And so anyways, that's my rant. Me and Adriana talk about our journeys into corporate education, all that kind of stuff, the wins, the losses, because there are some, don't get me wrong. But just to really highlight on what it's like to be women in the corporate life. And I thought that was such a really good episode. And Adriana had been on before with her daughter Shamra the season before that, I believe season 9, at the end of season 9, yes, to talk about topical steroid withdrawal, which is an amazing episode as well, and very much highlights the gaslighting for the medical industry and just the struggles that families have to go through that. So yes, amazing season, guys. I don't really have the time because I definitely have to get going, and I didn't want this episode to be over 40 minutes, but here we are. So there's all of that. Now, if you wanted to go on the YouTube channel, I talk about so many things, you guys. I talk about politics and what's going on in the House of Commons. I talk about crime quite a bit, the different crime that's going on here. I talk about maids and the expansion. I talk about just audacious things that happen in the news that I think we should be paying attention to. That's why I called it Keeping Up with Canada, because I think we should stop keeping up with the Kardashians and focus on what's going on, unfortunately, because the government has weaved themselves so deeply into our lives that is actually affecting us to a high degree. So I think we should be doing that. So if you want to go back, tons there. All different stuff, all different news articles throughout Canada. And then Internet Insanity, we talk things like about Netflix series that have come out that are insane, crime, murders, cases, like the Diddy trial. We talk about OF model drama, TikTok drama, anything that I could find on the internet that I find absolutely insane, whether that's a current story, past story, an anniversary of a story, a cold case, an open case, revisited case, anything that is internet insane, I have on there, and it's just in the titles. You can go see it. So again, if you guys need content for the next 2 months, there is a fuck ton. Now, pray to God that this audio worked. If this is jacked up, I'm so sorry, guys, but I promise you this time I can actually take time to learn how to do this. I'm so excited for this break. I'm so excited for the 10 seasons that I've done, the 5 full years of doing this, going from literally a tiny little chair. I don't even know if I still have that chair. Oh, I actually do think I still have that. No, I don't even think I have that chair anymore. No, I don't even have. Oh, yes, I do. It's now the white chair. So I have that pink chair, my little tiny, this iPhone right here, that is my old iPhone, and a little set of headphones, and Spotify, which used to call Anchor, is where it started 5 years ago. And here I am now, breaking huge strides, meeting so many people and learning so much. My brain is so huge from this whole process, and I can't wait to learn more. But again, thank you guys so much. I could keep doing this, but your girl is tired, and I got a fucking cardio class I got to teach here in an hour, so I better get to that. Keep an eye out, guys. Go to the Be Real Collective. Please go follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Be Real Babe Podcast. I'm there. Message me if you want to be on season 11. Message me if you have any ideas. I love your messages. I love when you talk to me. Please talk to me. It makes me feel like no one listens, but you guys keep listening because the plays go up. So if you can be interactive with me, please try for my mental health. But thank you guys again so much for everything. And until the next episode in 2 months, bye. Thank you guys so much for listening. I truly appreciate the support. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please follow the Be Real Babe podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Rumble. You can also find me at the Be Real Babe podcast on TikTok and Instagram. Until next time, guys, bye!